Hello guys, and welcome to Mrs Patnell's literacy lesson this week. I'm just going to do the one lesson and then give you some tasks to do from this one lesson, okay? Now our lesson this week looks at information books, okay? And I've got one here with me, and hopefully you've got one with you. If you're in my class, I did email parents out to say, see if you've got an information book at home that you can have with you, because we're going to go through some of the typical features, the things you find in most information books. If you are not in my class and you weren't aware, you can pause the video or stop the video, go and find yourself an information book in your collection. Hopefully it has most of the features and we can work on this together, okay? So, features of an information text. So we have all sorts of texts in our books. We have fiction books which have come from our imaginations. So the writer has made these things up out of their heads. These people don't really exist and these things didn't really happen, but they sound great in their imagination. That is fiction books, okay? We are going to look today at information books. So these are books that have facts in them, things that are absolutely true. Okay, they couldn't put them in that print unless they'd checked that they are absolutely true. So you look in these books to find out things about things that you can then go on and say to somebody else, I know this about octopuses, or I know this about carrots, because you've read it in an information book and it's absolutely true. It contains facts, so it's full of information to give you, to make you more clever, let's say, to give more facts, more things that are true to pass on to other people. So, typical features of an information text are, and I hope you can see this all right from the camera view there. So we have typical features are, and you can call some out to the screen if you want to. If you want to pause the video, call them out and then see how many you got right that are on my list. That is fine, okay? So by all means pause it, yell out all the ones that my class in particular have discussed before. So you have looked at information text before, or if you've done it in your own classrooms and you're not in my class but you know something about them, pause the video, call them out to the screen now, okay? And then you can see if they're on my list. Maybe I've forgotten some, maybe you've forgotten some, so we'll have a look, okay? Right, so on my list of features, things you find in a typical information book, I have got the contents. The contents, the page numbers. They can often feature in a fiction book as well, but definitely in an information book. A title of the book. Pictures. I've got headings. I've got subheadings. Captions. Facts, which we just spoke about, things that are absolutely true. Index and a glossary. Now I'm going to go through those a little bit with you now, so you know what I'm talking about when I say these things. So let's just pop that back up there. Hopefully that won't fall over. So when we talk about a contents page in an information book, we are looking at the very beginning of a book, and you turn over your front cover here. Now the contents page falls pretty much at the beginning. You might have a little cover page, but then it falls pretty much at the beginning. And the contents here has lots of numbers down the side and then lots of words next to it. Now some of you might know what those numbers and those words mean. I'm going to tell you now just in case you don't. So the numbers refer to what page, they're talking about what page number you will find these things on. And what's written beside it is the information you will find on that page number. So with an information book, you don't have to read the whole book to find out exactly this one little thing you want to know. So for instance, in this book is, and in fact what we discussed here, has a title on the front of the book called My Friends. So you'll always find the title on the front of a book, so that when you first pick it up, you know what it is you're looking at. They don't keep the title hidden from you. It's the first thing you tend to look at to judge if you're going to like reading that book, and that's your title. So this book is called My Friends. If I flick back to the contents and I want to find out about what makes a good friend, I mean, maybe I don't know what makes a good friend. I know about friends, but what makes a good friend? Then I'll find what makes a good friend in the contents list, and then I'll look over here and find that that's on page 8. So if I want to know just about what makes a good friend, I can turn straight to page 8, and I shall do so now. and I will find out on that page what makes a good friend. Straight to it. I didn't have to read the whole book to find out. Now what we've discovered here on page 8 is our page number, obviously, so that's another thing on our list. There must have numbers on an information book, because when you use the contents and it tells you to go to page 8, you need to know you found page 8. You need to count through 5, 6, 7 and then get to page 8. So it must have page numbers in an information book. And I've got what makes a good friend. Now this on the page here is a heading. So at the top of the page, it's telling me about what the rest of the information on that page is going to be about. So that is a heading. Sometimes in information books, you get a subheading. Okay, so maybe there's lots of different information on those pages in front of you, and therefore, although it's all about this heading here, there might be something particularly more about it where there's a subheading. This book doesn't really have subheadings in it because it doesn't have too much information on a page. But a subheading is maybe when you've looked in a book about crabs is on this page, but then you want to know about how crabs walk along. There might be a heading saying crabs. And then because there's lots of information about crabs, there might be a smaller heading, sometimes off to the side, that might say, how crabs walk. And that's a subheading. So it's a little bit more focusing in on certain information about what the whole page is talking about. Okay? So we've done contents, page numbers, we've done a title on the front of the book. Always, pretty much in information books, you will find pictures. Because it's very hard when you're looking up about something you maybe never heard of before or seen before to try and picture it just by reading about it. So information books often have lovely big pictures so you can really see what the facts are talking about. Okay, it really helps you picture it in your mind. So pictures are often in information books, particularly children's information books. We've looked at headings. We've looked at subheadings. Sometimes a picture might have a caption. Okay, so I feel that this is this caption here for this picture. So it shows a picture, but you might think, well, what's going on in that picture? So you often have a caption, maybe at the top of it, next to it, or underneath it, and it tells you a bit about what that picture is particularly showing you. My caption says, good friends are kind to you and will listen to you. And so it's just showing a picture of good friends being kind because they're having a hug. So it explains what's happening in the picture, and that is a caption. Okay? You might have a picture of some animals and you may never have seen them before because they're strange animals from South America and you've never seen it before. So it might have a caption saying, this is the long-nosed stoat, so that you can see exactly what that picture is talking about. So that's a caption, a little bit more information about your picture. Obviously an information book contains facts. We spoke about facts. Everything you read written in there, like the big chunks of information or sometimes smaller chunks of information, are facts. They are absolutely true. Okay? So if we flip now to the back, it's talking about an index. Okay? An index. Now an index is at the back of your information book. It's a little bit like a contents page, but sometimes you'll find that information will pop up on more than one page. Okay, so for instance here, if you want to know about caring, so you want to know about friends, but also about caring as a friend, it actually pops up on page 8 and page 13. So an index is saying, if it's this particular subject you're looking for, it might be on more than one page. So flick to the index, and if you have no luck on page 8 finding exactly what you need, maybe try page 13. Okay, so an index is on the back there, giving you more than one page where this particular word or subject might pop up. Okay. Also, our last thing on our list, our glossary, is in the back. A glossary is a bit about if there are some words in your information book that you might not quite understand. They're quite tricky, quite long, maybe more than 2 syllables, and you're not quite sure what they mean. Then you can go to a glossary and it will list those words in the back and then tell you what those words mean next to it. So if you've read them on page 9 and you think, well, I don't actually know any more than I did before because I don't know what that word means, then you can flick to the back of your information book. Hopefully it has a glossary. See if the word you don't understand is in the glossary, and then read what it tells you about that word to explain exactly what it means in more detail. Okay, so that's our information book. Now, if you've got one in front of you now, I am going to call out some of the features that I've just gone through, and I want you to flick through your book and put your finger on one of those features in your book. Now, not every information book covers every single one of these features. It's kind of tricky. I didn't really have subheadings in mind, so I will just pick a few of the features here, and I want you to flick through your book, find an example of the feature I've said and put your finger on it, and your adult in the room will let you know if you found that right feature. Okay, so the first one, I'm going to go for a nice easy one. Can you find on your information book the title? The title. Pause the video if you need time to think about where that feature is, but I want you to find the title. Now, the title will always be on the front cover of your book, okay, and it's usually probably at the top. It might feature somewhere else on the page, but it is on mine at the top here. This is my title. This is what the name of your book, okay, and it's very important. That normally helps you decide if you want to read that book or not. So mine is called My Friends. That's my title on the front cover. Now, can you open your book and find a picture? A picture. Pause the video if you need to. Now, if I was finding a picture in my book, I would probably open it on any page here, and I can see a picture. There it is. Sometimes it could be a drawn picture, but it does tend to be a photograph, a real picture. So hopefully you found a picture. If you have, pat yourself on the back. I want you to find the contents page in your book. Okay, stop the video if you need to. I want you to find the contents page. Okay, the contents page in my book is at the front. So I'm going to flick through my cover pages, and then I see the contents page. The contents page listing all the page numbers that I will find things on. Okay, that's the contents page. Well done if you found your contents page. Now, can you have a go at finding the glossary? So if there's a word you don't understand, then you've got to look in the glossary to find out what it means. Now, it's possible yours doesn't have a glossary, in which case then you can't find it. But have a little look. I want you to at least think where the glossary can be found. Pause the video if you need to. Okay, the glossary will be at the back usually. Okay, so flicking back to my glossary, there it is, and it tells me a little bit about certain words that maybe I don't understand too well by myself. So hopefully you found a glossary in the back of your book. If you get to the back and you haven't got one, well done for remembering it's usually at the back. Last one, let's say, can we find a heading? Can we find a heading in your book? So not the title, not the one on the front page, but a heading. Pause the video where you find a heading in your book. And now we're going to find one together. If I flick through my information text, then I'm going to find a heading at the top of my page, and it's going to tell me all about what I'm going to find on the next couple of pages. What Are Friends is my title on this page. Normally sits at the top, and it lets you know what you're going to read about if you carry on reading that page. So that's the heading. Okay. Right, so these are the features of an information text. Now this week, if you're in my class, and you can do this if you're not in my class as well, absolutely, but just get your adults to let you know how fabulous it is. My class, if you could put your things onto tapestry so I can see how brilliant they are. Now we're going to be doing information text over 2 weeks, so this week and next week. So this one is just a kind of taster type of challenge to get you used to an information book, okay? So I am going to ask you as your challenge, I'm just going to fold up my paper here because I want to do a little example on my paper, but I want you to, just for this week, make an information page. So not a whole book yet, that will come next week, that's something to look forward to. I want you to make a page as if it was in an information book, okay? So you won't need things like contents and things like a glossary or an index or even a title, because you're not doing the whole book, you're just doing one page. So you will need things like a page number, and it'll probably be number 1 because it's just the first page and only page you're doing on this particular information. You will need a heading on your page. You might need a subheading if there's lots of information and you want to zoom in on particular things about what you're going to write about. You might need subheadings. You will need a picture, and you will probably need a caption to tell me what's going on in that picture. Okay, so that's headings, possible subheadings, page numbers, pictures, captions, and of course the most important thing are the facts. Okay, so you might put your title up here. Now, what I want you to write about is something you will all know about, so you won't have to do any research for this. I want you to write about yourself. Okay, so you know all that, it's all in here, so it's going to be quite easy to do research. It's all going to be in your head. So you're writing about yourself. Okay, so my heading would be on this one particular page, okay, would be Mrs Patnell. So I'm going to put that there. Let's put Mrs P as my heading. Okay, then I might put maybe a picture down here at the bottom. Okay, you could take a photograph of yourself and stick it on there, or you could get your art pencils out and draw yourself. So here I am, this is me. I've got blue hair in this because I've only got a blue pen, so do excuse that I've got blue hair. It's not very factual, is it, because I don't have blue hair, so I might want to do exactly as I would look if I were you and get the right colour pens out for my hair and my eyes and things like that. Okay? And then I might write a caption by my picture as well. I might write it just above and it might say Mrs Patnell or Mrs P sitting down. So it's explaining a little bit about what's going on in the picture. Okay? And so I've got my heading, I've got my picture and my caption, so I've ticked all those off. I'm going to do my page number is page 1. It's going to be my only page this week, okay, but I'm going to make it page 1. And then I'm going to put a bit of facts about myself, okay? So let's think, a fact about myself. Mrs P's favourite food is pasta, probably, if I'm really thinking about it. So I might put here, and I might put a subheading. So I might put favourite food as my subheading. Favourite food. And notice how it's not in the middle like my heading was. It's off to the side over here. And I might underline it as well, so it looks like a subheading. Favourite food, and I might put Mrs P really likes pasta. Okay, and that is a fact. It's absolutely true. That is my favourite food. Okay, so I put that there. So that's about favourite food. Next to my picture over here, I might want to put another subheading about, let's say, favourite hobby. A hobby meaning, and this could be something that go in a glossary if you didn't know what it meant. Hobby means my favourite thing I like to do in my spare time. Okay, so not something I'm told to do, but something I like doing when I choose to do what I want to do. So I'm going to put over here as my subheading, hobbies. I'm using capital letter at the beginning of my hobbies for my subheading. I'm going to underline it, and I'm going to put Mrs P likes to sing. Okay, and I do like to sing. Whether anybody likes to hear it or not, I don't know, but I like to sing. So under my hobbies, Mrs P likes to sing with a full stop on the end of my sentence. It's a fact, it's true, it's one of my hobbies, okay? Now I've still got room on my page to maybe do a subheading over here about something else, okay? I might talk about my favourite teddy, or my favourite book, or my favourite lessons that I like to do at school when I'm teaching. Anything about myself, okay? Maybe my favourite animal, my favourite colour. There are so many facts that you can write about yourself, okay? So don't get stumped and say, well, I don't know what to write, I've got no idea, okay? There are so many things that are your favourite things, things you like to do, things about your bedroom, what colour your bedroom is, that's a fact. There are so many facts you can write about yourself, okay? Do remember when you're doing this, okay, to include the features we spoke about, so your headings, subheadings, facts, pictures, captions, page numbers, But also when you're writing, if you're in my class, I want beautiful cursive writing, if you can keep to that. I know it's not a phonics lesson, but I still want it in your writing whenever you can. So beautiful cursive writing, capital letters at the beginning of all your sentences, capital letter for your name as well, and finger spaces so I can nicely read your facts, okay, and your headings and subheadings. And don't forget, full stops will mainly be the punctuation you use in an information book, because you won't be asking the questions in an information book, you'll be telling the information. So there'll all be those kind of sentences that are statements that need full stops rather than question marks. It's kind of unusual to use an exclamation mark in an information book because you're not normally delivering it in an excitable way. You know, you're not saying, hey, look at this, and you're not being bossy and telling somebody to do something where you might use an exclamation mark with a command. So you will tend to use full stops at the end of your sentences, okay? So capital letters, finger spaces, full stops, and lovely cursive writing if you're in my class. If you're not in my class, then you could do a fabulous job of your information page about yourself, and you can show it to your adults, okay? So next week we're going to join up together again, should I say. You can have your information book with you again for that literacy lesson, because I will go through those features we spoke about, and we'll try and find them in our books again just to check they stay in your memory. And I will tell you what we're going to be doing on information books on our next lesson next week, okay? So remember, just one this week, and that's the task that I want you to do from this lesson. So I shall see you for next week's literacy lesson in a week's time. Bye bye, take care.